Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dave, and we're the IB English guys. Today we want to look at some exemplary student work from Queenwood, Australia.
That's right. This comes from Queenwood School for the Girls. Thank you to Rachel Brown for sending this to us. And thank you to the students for agreeing to share your work with us. The entire community benefits when you share great work and we get to review it here on the channel.
Absolutely. This particular HL essay is looking at a non-literary body of work. It's an advertising campaign from Nike, the Believe in More campaign. This is an international campaign, incredible video ads.
Yeah, that's right. What do you say we just dive right in, Mr. Giles, and look at the line of inquiry? The line of inquiry reads as follows. How and to what effect does Nike use symbolism to advocate for gender equality?
Okay, so we like when a line of inquiry establishes the author, has a technical aspect, and a rich idea. So there's some of that. They could perhaps have put the actual name of the campaign in the line of inquiry.
Yeah, I would have advised my student to do so, but it's not a deal breaker. We can definitely look at this line of inquiry and see where the student's going, and we'll see how they develop this in the paper itself.
I like the focus, and I think that's real good. And we got a purpose. We notice that purpose is about gender equality, and that's mentioned in the first sentence of the introduction. Really nice way to lead into the text.
Yeah, moving through the introduction, we do see Whedon and Kennedy. We see the year 2017. We see Believe in More campaign. So that even though it's not in the line of inquiry, they quickly pick that up in the introduction. Good choice.
Yeah, and they establish that there are 3 advertisements from the Middle East, Russia, and Turkey, and that they target 3 separate cultures. So that's really smart because they're thinking about the audience and the different cultural values that those audiences might have.
Yeah, and then we get down to the thesis of this higher level essay. It says the campaign has 3 main objectives, and then they list 1, 2, 3 purposes. That's going to be the structure of the higher level essay. It's a really clever construction there.
Yeah, strong and powerful, having independence and autonomy, and also that encouraging that social shift. Really smart. Lastly, they end with that idea of transforming cultural perspectives that restrict women's ability to play sport. That's a really nice thesis.
Now, all of this is going to be funneled under the authorial choice of symbolism. We're going to hope we see more authorial choices besides symbolism. Let's see how they pull this off, Mr. Giles.
One quick note, I like how the thesis statement, though that last sentence of that intro, does not just repeat the line of inquiry. It actually does a little bit more, and that idea I think is really nice.
Yeah.
Now, in our first section, we're going to talk about the strength of women. We know that because it was mentioned in the introduction. We've got a screenshot that's labeled. That's really nice, and it's a great choice of screenshots.
Yeah, you definitely want to put screenshots, embed those in the paper. That's really helpful for the examiner. No, we see that screenshot being described. We see female boxer training underwater, boxing stance, knees bent, fist and hands locked, right? So we see that description, and that's being linked to the authorial choice of connotation. So they take that rich textual reference, link it to a choice, analyze, and interpret. We see the word insinuates lack of proper facilities. That's reaching for implications, Mr. Giles.
Yeah, that's right.
Analysis.
That's right. That's what we're doing. Also, not only paying attention to visuals, we're looking at language. So that voiceover narration and the quote from the video ad is really nice because this is a multimodal text. So we want to look at both language and image, and we're looking at the future tense that's used there. Yeah. That's good.
They continue to describe a little bit more of the image. They're talking about posture. We can see that through the word stance. We can think about positioning. That refers to composition and cropping. And we see the word symbolism there, Mr. Giles, with a word underlined, imply. Remember, anytime we see that word imply, we're thinking about implications. That means we're interpreting. The student is really doing a nice job on this higher level essay.
That's right. In the next body paragraph, we're going to pivot to a different video, the different ad. That's really smart. And the topic sentence established in the Russian video, what are girls made of? Now we're talking about what we see with the figure skater opening the auditory doors.
Yeah, it looks like they'll be talking and focusing on the idea of great skill and capability, but at the same time, they can still retain grace and femininity. So we have another rich idea coming out. Mr. Giles, they're looking at sound, they're looking at lighting, they're looking at symbolism all together. So they're really treating this as the multimodal text that it is.
That's right. That's right. And they're making reference to the different elements that are there with this Russian athlete and the young girl that's singing the traditional song, What Are Girls Made Of?
Yeah, it's really clever for them to pick up on that song. Lyrics are a part of the multimodal text, so we have to talk about that. And they talk about subverting gender expectations. There's some elevated thinking in this response.
I agree. And lastly, we're looking at the Middle Eastern video. We're also looking at another figure, another screenshot. We're looking at the idea of independence. So now we're pivoting to a different topic within the paper that was mentioned in the introduction.
Yeah, I like that transition too, in conjunction with promoting female power, kind of taking us from where they were and then taking us to where they are now. Again, we see that good focus on symbolism, while again, they're thinking about cutting as well. Because it's a video, we have to think about how are the different shots cut and how how do we move from one cut to another? So
Yeah, the students really adept at that sort of cinematic analysis that's there, and we're thinking about all that they're establishing, and we're really reading between the lines, and we're looking at that. I love how she talks about she surreptitiously glances both ways. So we're actually not just talking about the screenshot, we're talking about that whole sequence of film that we're talking about.
yeah, again, we see the word suggesting her wariness against society's judgment. Again, that's a further implication. And then they tie it back together by saying promoting female autonomy while still honoring traditional cultural expectations of modesty. So they tie that off with a nice concluding sentence.
Yeah, that's right. And that choice to include the hijab is really interesting. Then we have a second ad that we're going to look at. This is by a Turkish video called This Is Us. So it's a different advertisement within the campaign. Very smart. Remember, we're not just looking at one ad, we're looking at several.
And what's the rich idea we're going after this time?
Now we're going to talk about female empowerment and autonomy. All right, we're connecting with that idea of independence still.
So again, it's nice to see the students start with symbolism because that was the term from their line of inquiry. So they're anchoring in symbolism, and then they're talking about some of the mid shots. So they're talking about the shot choice.
Yeah.
They're talking about the voiceover narration again. So it looks like they're doing the interplay between text and image this time, which is nice.
That's right. And they're looking, just one other thing to know, you can tell the student's done some research. She knows the names of the actual athletes that are used in the ad campaign. This is, again, in the Weidman Kennedy website, or what that's being written about the ad. That shows deeper knowledge than just looking at the ad itself. I think that's really wise and shows deep knowledge.
Yeah, it looks like we're moving down to possibly to a third ad here, Mr. Giles. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's the third point. Remember, our third point is that societal shift. So we're talking, again, we got a great transition. You love the transition. While Nike's primary purpose is to empower women, we're also talking about the societal shift towards gender equality.
Yeah, and then they get into some really precise examples. A mid shot of the men in a pub cheering for women's boxing match, right? So we see men now supporting and cheering for women as a result of this campaign. That's that equality is beginning. That's nice.
One thing we did notice is that not all of the shots that are being referred to are actually embedded in the paper itself. And that was a choice that the student made. They can't be putting 10 screenshots in the ad in the paper, but I think that's just an interesting note. Notice also where we're just looking at details, right? We're looking at the conclusion of the ad. We're looking at the young girl stepping onto the ice and the significance and the symbolic meaning of that. That's
Again, I love how they continue to tackle the song's lyrics. They're looking at how the Russian lyrics traditionally are one way, but then they're being subverted and changed to something different. I think that's really clever. Again, they really link heavily into symbolism here toward the end of the paragraph. It's a meaty paragraph, but it has lots of authorial choices, and it is rooted in symbolism. Therefore, I believe it's following the LOE.
Absolutely. And then lastly, we're looking at just one of the most powerful shots in all of the ads is that sort of close-up shot that's being talked about, the miniature dollhouse that's being broken. What a symbol, right? A great choice, and that's established front in the introduction in the first topic sentence.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Now this time they're not talking about a song so much, but they're thinking about "You Know Us, Don't You." So again, they're thinking about that voiceover narration. They're thinking about how it mirrors the opening line, so they kind of come full circle with this ad. Really comprehensive coverage of 3 different ads here, Mr. Giles.
That's right. And then we're really talking about, finally, we're talking about this idea of gender equality that's being established and that transformation, right? They're trying to transform thinking about the restrictions on women.
Yeah, again, that's one of our course concepts. So in the end, the student's showing great knowledge and understanding of a course concept. They're showing great visual and language analysis. They understand cinematography. Mr. Giles, this student has done an excellent job with this.
Yeah, this is like knocking it out of the park. Fun to read, interesting, well organized, and really detailed and technical.
So folks, in the end, we hope this is helpful for you. It's always good to look at strong samples. Again, big thanks to Rachel Brown and Queenwood School for Girls for sharing this with us. Folks, you too share work with us, and we'll profile and share you on the channel.
Thanks, guys.